Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the best streaming credit cards out there. This will be a little different than what we've been doing with the other 4 videos because we haven't really been taking into effect credits and rewards and everything like that the credit card has included with the multipliers that the card already has. But because this is a unique one, we're going to be able to include those today. But we're still not going to count store credit cards or anything like that. First credit card on the list is the US Bank Altitude Go credit card. And you're probably thinking, well, this credit card is more like the dining card that you talked about in the first video, where this would be a great card to eat out and then actually does get 2% on grocery purchases, so you get a lot of dining. And this credit card actually only gets 2% unlimited on your streaming purchases. So this is pretty comparable to just a catch-all credit card of 2% with the Citi Double Cash or even the Wells Fargo Active Cash. So why is this card on the list? It's because of the $15 credit that you get per year on this credit card through streaming purchases. You will receive a $15 streaming credit when you pay monthly for streaming services, but you have to pay it, I believe, for the first 11 months, and then it will register that you have been paying it for 11 months and give you that $15 credit. You do have to make sure that the streaming service you are using is counted and categorized as a streaming service, because sometimes they are not. Like for Crunchyroll, I know I talked about this when I talked specifically about the US Bank Altitude Go card in my video, that it didn't categorize it as streaming, so I wasn't going to get that $15 credit. I didn't even get the 2% that I would get for that streaming service. It only counted as 1%. But this card is great because you can be able to get that $15 credit, which could actually be better than some of the other credit cards on this list. As well, the US Bank Altitude Go card does not have foreign transaction fees or have any annual fees. So maybe this card would work for a foreign streaming service, maybe not, but you could try it out and see, but they might not categorize it as streaming, possibly like mentioned with Crunchyroll. The next credit card on the list is similar to the Altitude Go card because it is part of the Altitude line, which is the US Bank Altitude Connect credit card. And this card also gets 2% unlimited on streaming purchases, but has a higher credit that you get each year, which is $30. So it works the same way where you pay for a certain number of months, then it will trigger the credit and it'll give you $30 per year with that credit. You do get double what you would get with the Altitude Go, but you do have to pay a $95 annual fee, which is waived for the first year. This card also has no foreign transaction fees as well, so it might be a good card as well for foreign streaming if it does work for that. The next credit card on the list is the Wells Fargo Autograph credit card. This credit card pretty much has all the categories that you would need for a normal regular person living in today's modern world, which is gas, grocery, grub, online shopping, and streaming services, right? Those are like the 5 big things that every person needs in the world. So the Wells Fargo Autograph card gets 3% unlimited on streaming purchases, actually. So you can be able to get 3% on any streaming service that is categorized as streaming. And this card has no foreign transaction fees and no annual fee. So like mentioned previously, maybe it works for foreign streaming, maybe it doesn't. The next card on the list is the Capital One Savor One card. And this card, to me personally, is pretty similar with the Wells Fargo Autograph card because they do have 3% unlimited for so many great categories, but each credit card is missing that one category, which would make it the ultimate credit card or one of the best credit cards to have with you. The Capital One Savor One card was missing the gas category. The Wells Fargo Autograph card was missing the grocery category. So if each of those cards had those categories, they would both be one of the best credit cards out there for all our big spend that we do. This card does get 3% unlimited on your streaming services, and you can be able to have this card with no annual fee and no foreign transaction fees. The next card on the list is one we've talked about a lot with the Capital One Savor One card, which is the Capital One Savor Rewards credit card. And this is actually where you're going to actually see why the $95 annual fee might be worth it if you want to be able to get a higher multiplier for streaming services. Because this credit card gets you 4% on streaming services compared to the 3% that you get with the Savor One credit card. So that's where the $95 annual fee might be beneficial to you if you want to get 4% on your streaming services. And as well, this card has no foreign transaction fees with the Capital One Savor One card. So it really just depends on if you spend enough to cancel out that annual fee. The next card on the list is the US Bank Cash Plus credit card. And this credit card gets 5% up to $2,000 combined per quarter for 2 categories. And streaming services is one of those categories. So if you wanted to, you could spend all $2,000 on one of those 2 categories. So if you wanted to make it streaming services, you can be able to get 5% on those streaming services. And actually, this is where I want to look into the US Bank Altitude Go card compared to the US Bank Cash Plus credit card. Because 5% is much more than 2%. But because of that credit, you can be able to see that you're going to get more value at the end of the year with the Altitude Go card compared to the Cash Plus credit card. And that really depends on, as well, how much you spend, because this is according to the math I did here, but you might spend $2,000 on streaming for some reason, and to be honest with you, I would think you're crazy for spending $2,000. You must be funding like 100 people's streaming services maybe, I don't know. That's just a lot of money to spend per quarter on streaming. Sometimes the higher multiplier isn't always the best, and I know we didn't really take that into effect with the other videos, but for this video I just wanted to point that out to say that sometimes a lower multiplier card with some credits on it might be more beneficial than a card with higher multipliers with no credits or anything on it. Next credit card on the list, which seems to never fail to get on the list, is the Citi Custom Cash credit card. This card, if you haven't figured it out already, gets 5% on your highest spend category, and streaming services is on there. Then you also probably already know that you can be able to spend $500 per month on this card to be able to get 5%. And just because it is limited compared to like the Cash Plus credit card, the Cash Plus one might be better. But like we mentioned, streaming is one of those purchases that is less per month compared to like gas, grocery, and grub or dining. You know, you're not going to spend $100 potentially on streaming services compared to like groceries each week, but maybe you do spend like YouTube, sports streaming, and other things. Maybe you spend a lot, but for the most part, streaming purchases are more minimal compared to like grocery and gas and restaurant purchase. The next two credit cards on the list are two credit cards we've talked about previously, and these ones are going to be a little more complicated on how they are, but they're going to be one of the two best credit cards for streaming purchases. But it is only for a select streaming service. If you use a completely different streaming service than what's going to be talked about here, then these credit cards might not be the best credit cards for you. But if you do use these streaming services or streaming service that this card does provide, then this might be the best card for you. So the first card is the American Express Blue Cash Everyday Card. So this card only gets you 1% unlimited on all your spend. And streaming service is not even categorized as its own separate thing. It's part of the all other purchases on this credit card. So why is this credit card on the list? Well, it's because you get credit for purchasing a Disney Plus bundle, and you have to spend at least $9.99 or more each month to be able to get that credit, which will be given out as $7 of credit per month to add up to $84. So that's why this would be great, because you're getting $7 off each month. But as of this video recording, Disney might have changed certain aspects of how much they charge for their membership and everything like that. So this might be a little different than what is in this video. And this card is great because it does have no annual fee, that you can be able to get an $84 credit to the credit card. Like we talked about, this bundle, this Disney Plus bundle only works for like Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus, because that's what's in the bundle. If you like to watch like at Netflix, Paramount Plus, Max, Stars, YouTube, or wherever else, it's not going to work for that streaming service because it's only for that bundle at Disney Plus. So this might not be the best credit card for you if you want to be able to get rewards for those streaming services, especially because this card only gets you 1%. The next credit card on the list that we were talking about that goes with the American Express Blue Cash card is the American Express Preferred credit card. And this credit card gets you 6% up to $6,000 per year for US streaming services. So that's already 6 times more than the Blue Cash card gets you. So this card might be the best credit card to get, especially because it's the highest as of right now with all the other credit cards on the list. This card does have the same credit of $84 that you get for a Disney Plus bundle, and this card has a $95 annual fee that is waived for the first year. So for that credit aspect, it's not as good because you're paying $95 and you're hoping maybe the credit would be higher, but it's exactly the same. But you do get 6% on your streaming service purchase. So you're going to get a lot more rewards that way. And if you look at the math right here, you can be able to see how that adds up and how the American Express Preferred card gets you more value than you would with the American Express Blue Cash card. But it really depends on how much you're spending per year as well. But like we talked about with the Blue Cash card, this does not count outside the Disney Plus bundle. So it really depends on what streaming services that you use to be able to get the $84 credit. You'll still get the 6% with the US streaming services, so this card would still be great for getting 6% on all those other streaming services that we talked about. But it just really depends on if you want to pay an annual fee or not to be able to get rewards. That's what really it comes down to, because for some people they don't want to pay an annual fee unless it's worth paying that much. So what do you think of this list of best credit cards for streaming services? Do you think this is a great list? Do you use one of these credit cards on the list, or do you have a different credit card that you use that you can be able to get even more value for your streaming purchases? Let us know down in the comments below which card you use for your streaming services so that we can be able to benefit as well. And if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my content releases. And thank you, and hope you have a great day. Thanks.